The email goes something like this. Mark, my full name is Lee Womer, Wommer, if anyone wants to check him out. I have been trying to get an email to you from my phone, but keep failing. As the subject reads, I was a ship captain by trade under the U.S. Coast Guard as a merchant marine, similar to the Air National Guard for reference. To keep this short, I studied and loved navigation on the ocean. I navigated difficult waters through coral reefs and many hazards in the Atlantic, primarily off the shore of South Florida. I also have a background in optics and engineering. Like many of your flat earth clues are part of what hit me. Sun rays at sunset, Polaris, a lighthouse I could see that I should not have seen, a technical navigation that I could not have done on a sphere literally hit me like a punch to the face about I don't know if that's 8 days ago or 8 weeks or 8 months. I think it's 8 months, isn't it?
8 months, yeah.
Okay,
maybe pushing 10 now. Time flies.
Oh, that's true. I am also a Christian, so Rob Skiba interviews put it in cement for me. I would love to contribute and am happy to speak on air. I have amassed some surprising proofs. Like the other night, I was able to verify from a commercial airplane mechanic the location of the GPS antenna on large planes is under, all caps, the belly of the plane.
And you know, we've talked a lot about me being a ship captain, but then immediately I'm replaying in my head, if it's a sphere, you know, and you use the analogy of Wheatons on a basketball, and that's a really good analogy. You know,
I was hungry when I said that.
I went back to actually my exam for getting my license. We had to plot courses, and it took me back to that particular chart and thinking about bending that chart around a ball, and that it does not work. You're going to get creases. And at first I was thinking you'd only get them along the longitude, but you would actually get them in either way, and it would be, you know, just taking you off in a curve of the wrong direction no matter what. And I navigated like between reefs that I couldn't see that would have torn holes in the bottom of the ships, and I would take divers out to a shipwreck in the middle of the Atlantic. And we had the way we did that, because it was pretty near the shipping lane. The shipwreck was, I think it was about 80 feet down to the shipwreck. And what we did was we took a 65-foot line, tied it off on the wreck, and then took a buoy, a deflated buoy under, and then there's a little rig you can hook to your scuba gear that has an inflator nozzle on it. So we took a deflated buoy down 15 feet under the water at low tide, inflated it. So the shallowest that buoy would ever be would be under 15 feet of water. And, you know, I could manually plot right to that buoy and account for wind and current and everything else, and take you right to that buoy on a flat piece of paper. So if you bent that piece of paper, even the distances I was going around a properly sized sphere, I never would have found that shipwreck. Never could have done it. It's not repeatable to navigate that way on a sphere. You could come up with a navigation system for a sphere, but we don't have it, and we don't use it. And those technical things have been kind of talked about a lot, but that was more of it. I just, you know, kept putting that Wheaton on the basketball, and it cracks. Does not work. And I kept trying to. You don't actually have to get that precise about it. All you have to really say is that here's my chart and here's a ball, and if I try to do this, it doesn't work. And so to determine exactly how it's going to throw you off, it's kind of irrelevant when, you know, there's a storm rolling in and you can't see the reef, and you got to go, you know, through waters that are literally like 3 feet deep in a 8-foot draft boat. You know, are you gonna wreck the thing, and you know, or are you not? And that's the kind of precision you have to have, and it just goes out the window.
Precise navigation just does not work on a globe.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
Yeah, and that's funny, because what you were mentioning, and I don't know if a lot of people picked up on it, the very first subject matter guest I had, the Navy missile instructor, he said the same sort of thing, where he said, look, I hung out with the chart guys, and everything they worked on was on a perfectly flat, perfectly straight, you know, these courses. And he goes, nobody adjusted for anything. And you combine that with the stuff that he would see, which was one of my follow-up questions too, which was, okay, so you're a captain and you're in open water off of Florida, you know, lots of open expanse in the Atlantic. You know, you're seeing nothing but flat horizons, obviously, because it's water in all directions. Did you ever, kind of like the pilots that I talked to, the pilots would say, well, the horizon looks flat, but it can't actually be flat. Did you ever get any creepy moment where you're looking, it's like, did you ever have a doubt when you were out there, or was it just, something, you were so conditioned that you never even questioned it for a second?
No, I didn't question it, and maybe being down at the water level is less than it being up in the air for that amount of time. I did now in hindsight, like I don't, the whole lighthouse thing comes up, and one place I worked a majority of my career actually. There was an unlit lighthouse that was built by someone that owned the island, and they put it on the wrong side of the waterway. So the Coast Guard didn't. It's a gorgeous lighthouse, but it can't be lit. They lit it one time and it got shut down. But I used to use that as a visual navigational aid because you don't always want to get out your Jeep. You're leaving, before the sun in the morning with your divers, and you don't need to have all your stuff when you do the same thing over and over. So I would use this lighthouse as a navigational aid, even though just because I could see it over there. And going back now and doing 8 inches per mile squared properly, that lighthouse from my port would have just been over the curvature from my port. In other words, I shouldn't have been able to see it. Well, not only could, because everybody's like, oh, that bottom little bit gets fuzzy. Well, not only on a good day could I see the lighthouse, I could see the shoreline of the island that it was on. So, because there was a little bit of sand in a couple of spots, and then the seawall right under it, I could actually see the highlights of that from my port all the way across it's Biscayne Bay, which is part of the Atlantic Ocean, but it's partially enclosed by islands.